Hi everyone, I'm Nabom from Seoul, the girl whose name is associated with beauty in class. It is commonly thought that beautiful people are very bitchy and arrogant. Well, they are. At least that's what everyone thought of me. And I'll share my life with you. I hope you'll write your opinion about it at the end. Thank you all. There are a lot of cute kids in my class, but I am the most popular one there. I am the class president. The teacher says that I was born to lead. Being president has given me some privileges, including controlling the academic performance of my classmates. Since I wasn't much of a scholar myself, I just told the nerds and they did the work for me. And in return, I gave them my patronage and everyone was happy. But not everyone could approach me. Many were afraid to, because if I wasn't in the right mood, that was it. Bad news for everyone. Only my friend Soyul knew the approach. And then one day, Jian came to school, a newcomer, who immediately tried to win my place in class as the most beautiful and most popular. We started a real war. Jian and I fought every day over something expensive and beautiful. Since the school had a school uniform, we tried to show our wealth with shoes, accessories, and handbags. We walked down the halls and shoved each other. The tension grew slowly, but one day we came to school with identical bags. Jian couldn't take it anymore. "What, are you copying me?" "Who's copying who? This is the third time I've used this bag." I'm a one-time purse shopper. It's $2,500. What, you waited for a sale and bought it? It's worth more than that. You're the one who wears things on sale, not me." "Nabom, let's go. Let's leave her alone." I took my friend's hands off. It pissed me that there was this new bitch who was trying to humiliate me in front of the whole class. Jan stood there looking at me smugly. "I can see that we don't share the territory. Let the class decide which one of us will be president. Your term is coming up. It's time to give in to others." She was right. My term was coming up. We decided to call a truce for the election and get ready to campaign properly. I threw everything I had into getting reelected, but Jian wasn't far behind. She ordered food for school, took our classmates bowling at her own expense. I tried to throw money around too, but it was only Soyul who tried to stop me. "You shouldn't. It's not your position." "No one has to know about it. Only you know." "I know, but when will you stop? You're gonna get in trouble." "I know, but I can't let her win. Anybody but her." "Then what are you gonna do?" "I'll talk to my brother." I decided to throw a fancy election day party with the cheapest food, snacks, and booze, to show everyone how generous and rich and beautiful I am. The whole school came. Everyone was lounging around and drinking and eating, and I ordered a limo to take the kids around town and organized fireworks and stuff. Jian came too. She said she was impressed. And then right at the party, I asked the guys who they were going to elect as president. Everyone went silent. Then a high school boy came out of the crowd and said they were going to elect the one who was the prettiest on the inside and out. Then the election was postponed for one more week so Jian and I could get everything ready. "Stop it. Your father is sick. He's out of work. Did you rent this whole mansion with your brother's money? What did you tell him? That it was for school? How are you going to live now?" "It's okay. Nobody knows about my father's bankruptcy, so don't talk about it." "I won't. You know I won't. I'm just worried about you." "I'll be fine. I have to think of something." The next day, Jian started blogging about the many charities she was raising money for orphans, orphanages, and stuff like that. It was all about the money. I couldn't afford that. Soyul was secretly selling my expensive things so that somehow I could live on the money while my father was getting treatment. And while Jian settled everything with money, I sat there and understood that it was my defeat. My classmates didn't like me, and they didn't like Jian either, but at least she had money. Everyone else was spreading rumors that I'd stolen the money. That's why I was losing. On top of my nerves, I couldn't take it anymore. I made a scene with Jian, accusing her of showing off, and we fought in the hallway of the school. She yelled that she was going to burn all my stuff and that she didn't cheat. While I was in class, she broke into my locker and set fire to everything in the bathroom. Things got out of hand, the fire detectors didn't work, and a fire started. Most of the school managed to evacuate, but our class was stuck. I saw Jian running out of the bathroom. She was terrified. "Did you do that?" "It's not about that right now. We have to get out of here." Someone in the class yelled out that it was her. She was caught. I tried to call the fire department, but Jian grabbed my phone and tossed it aside, saying that the fire department was on its way and that we had to save ourselves. Everyone started panicking. No one knew what to do. Jian said the fire department wouldn't make it, and we had to jump from the 5th floor. No, it's too dangerous. You don't understand. I can't get hurt. If I get burns on my body or face, that's horrible. I have to be the prettiest, clearly to all of you. I'm the prettiest one here. Is that all you care about? How annoying you are. I have to be the prettiest, period. But what about the others? They want to live too. I don't care. It's not about them right now. Jian opened the window and told Seoul to jump first. Why me? You have to get a rope and tie it up. Are you crazy? She's going to die. We have no other choice. Seoul will climb out the window and pull that rope over there and tie it to the fire escape, and we'll use it to get down. No, she's not going anywhere. Let's say the ugliest will go first. They've got nothing to lose. And then me. What? Have you lost your mind? Jian wouldn't listen. She was off the chain. She grabbed another classmate and started screaming for her to get out and give her a rope. The girl was scared. She didn't want to. The boys tried to separate them. Then I stood up and said that I was going to climb down myself. I managed to climb through the window and grab the rope. All that was left to swing on it and get to the fire escape. I almost slipped a few times, but the ceiling in the classroom started to collapse at that moment. Somehow I grabbed the ladder and tied the other end of the rope to it. Jian went first. She crawled up to me, then took out a knife and started to cut the rope. What are you doing? This ladder can only hold one person. If everyone goes now, we'll fall. What the hell are you doing? They're going to die. And if they don't, I'll die. I grabbed her hand. Our classmates were waiting inside. Part of the ceiling had already collapsed. Jian didn't let go of the knife. She grabbed my hair and yelled that only the prettiest should survive. It frightened me. I saw the iron in front of me, grabbed it, and slammed it into her head. The knife fell out of her hand. I yelled for my friends to climb down the rope. They started hurrying down. When the last boy in the class came crawling toward us, some kind of balloon exploded, and we noticed the firemen underneath us. While they were getting the trampolines ready, the stairs were already starting to crack. Moments later, Jian kicked Seoul with her foot. She decided to get rid of the ballast. I managed to grab my friend and hold her while the firefighters got ready. The boys were holding Jian in the meantime. The frenzied new girl was so obsessed with beauty and money that she decided these arguments were enough to survive. A minute later, everything was ready, and we were being yelled at to jump down. We all survived, thank God. No one was talking to Jian after that. The election for class president was pushed back 3 months. During that time, I didn't have any brand name stuff left. I sold everything for my father's treatment. My classmates all said they would elect me as a thank you for saving their lives. Jian went ballistic. She found my house, took pictures of my sick father and the way we lived, and circulated a photo saying I was a pauper, that we were bankrupt, and that I wasn't worthy of the title of the prettiest president. But I kept quiet. I knew it was just desperation talking. Only later did we learn that her family was even poorer than mine, and that all her stuff was fake. This girl came to our school after a scandal at her last one for stealing, and she decided to console her father and start her life over, but it didn't work out. So I was elected president again. Jian was expelled for arson and everything else. My reputation crumbled. I was no longer the rich bitch I was famous for, but, I made more friends. I showed my beauty not only on the outside, but also on the inside.
Hi everyone, my name is Eleanor. People still call me Elia. Elia Tits. Yes, if you don't know, tits are breasts. Nature rewarded me with 2 melons in full. And before you get jealous, tell me how cool and beautiful it is, I'll tell you about the pros and cons of such an award. Well, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write your opinion in the comments. Please support me. So, my whole childhood was like everyone else's. I played, met children, and everything was fine until I was 10 years old. At this stage, girls began the so-called growing up. It was a terrible period because my caring mother would not let me rest. She examined me every day and observed the changes in my body, and I was so uncomfortable, and I really wanted to be left alone, but it didn't happen. My favorite items in my wardrobe were t-shirts and sweatshirts. I just loved wearing them because you could eat as much as you wanted in them and you still couldn't see your stomach. Well, once my mother and I were going to go to some holiday. It was a wedding, I think. My mom bought me a nice white t-shirt with a small net and something else. "Mom, what is this?" I asked her, and she was like, "This is a bra. You are now grown up, and so you need to wear it. You can take them off at night and only walk with it during the day," she said. I picked it up, my first bra in my life, and realized that it was uncomfortable. Rejecting the idea of trying it on, I put on a t-shirt and said I would go like this. My mother did not contradict me. We quickly gathered and went to the event. I went there in a good mood because I just loved to look at the brides. They looked just magical. I sat down at the table and realized that the kid sitting across from me was staring at me. At first, I didn't know where he was looking, but then I looked closer and noticed that he was looking at my breasts. I went to the bathroom and looked at myself in the full-length mirror. Only then did I notice that my chest was sticking out and more, well, you know what. It was a nightmare. I felt ashamed and embarrassed. I went to my mother and told her about the situation. She smiled and said, "I brought you something to wear. You have grown breasts, and there is nothing wrong with that. A woman without breasts, like without arms, all girls have them." Then the music started playing, and I wanted to dance so much. I just love dancing. But when I went out on the dance floor and made a couple of rhythmic movements, I realized that they were bothering me, and that kid was still staring at me. I immediately sat down at the table and sat hunched over all evening. I didn't want to get up and be looked at all. Of course, the adults didn't see it, but that boy, he really confused me. Running home in the evening, I took a shower and picked up the bra. Somehow I put it on myself and looked in the mirror. My mother came into the room at that moment and said that it fits perfectly. I didn't understand what that means. How can breasts look great at all? My mother said that this device holds the chest when walking and running, and then we are not hurt or uncomfortable. I wore it to school the next day and still didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't want to discuss my body with the girls, but they still saw it when we changed in the locker room. I began to hide it, and then it turned out that 8 of my classmates already wear such things. This calmed me down. And then the nightmare started. My breasts were growing non-stop. After a couple of months, my mother bought me a bra in a bigger size, and then another and another. When I returned to school after the summer holidays, my classmates were totally freaking out. They didn't see me, they saw my breasts. And even the big white t-shirts couldn't hide them. At the first lesson, when I sat down at my desk, I realized that my breasts did not fit there. I sat down closer, but I squeezed them hard. It caused pain, and then I had to put them on the table. You won't believe it, but I closed half of my notebook. I was still sitting on the first desk in front of the teacher, and when the historian came to us, said hello, and sat down in his seat, he just paused for a minute and looked at me. Can you imagine how awkward it was? All the kids in the class noticed his reaction and just started laughing out loud. Their laughter finally distracted the teacher, and he blushed, then asked me to move back. I was ready to sink through the ground. But then something even worse happened. We had gym class. For your information, I'm a pretty good dancer. Yes, it's true. And I have great flexibility. And I was determined to get into a cheerleading group because it offered huge advantages for high school students to go to college. Who doesn't need a scholarship to study? Everyone. But for this, you need to be active and persistent. So cheerleading is the best thing. I was put on the girls' team because of the plastic surgery, and our captain didn't hide the fact that my gorgeous breasts would have an effect. Well, for the sake of such a case, I agreed, but I didn't think that I would need to wear a certain uniform. I was given a short skirt and a crop top and invited to a rehearsal. As soon as I entered the hall, our boys started whistling, calling me Elya Tits and clapping their hands. Damn, I wanted to get out of there, but I set a clear goal and went with it. so I took all my will and started dancing. Our boys were often distracted from the game, watching my breasts jump. Sometimes they threw the ball in my direction and asked me to pick it up. I was maddened by the humiliation. Training turned into a nightmare, and I came home in a bad mood. My mother immediately noticed the tears and sat down to talk to me. I told her everything, and then my mother got up and led me to the bedroom. She showed me a photo when she was young, and I couldn't believe it was her. My mother had the same breasts as me. They were huge. My mother laughed a lot when she told me about them. I asked her how she coped with them, and my mother said that it was also awkward and difficult for her, but then she just accepted herself like this. By the way, your dad married me because of them, and you won't believe it, but everyone was jealous of him. It is now they are smaller and not as elastic and beautiful as yours, but women's breasts are very beautiful, she told me. My mother took another bra out of the closet, but it was open work black with wide straps, and she gave it to me. I also said that it would be much more comfortable for me, and it also made me feel different, more feminine. And she was right. As soon as I tried it on, I saw a different side of myself and realized that I was beautiful. My participation in cheerleading will only get better. I straightened up and smiled at myself. The very next day, I came to school in new underwear and a beautiful blouse. I began to be perceived differently, as a lady, and not as a kid in sweatshirts. Now, all the training sessions I gathered an audience of boys from my class and others, and I felt like a queen. I realized that I should be proud of such a natural part of myself. Do you think it's beautiful or not?